Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to read the next chapter out of the book of Shad Helmstetter, The Power of Neuroplasticity. And last time I wrote to you chapter 8, The 7 Rules of Neuroplasticity. And those rules were mindfulness, choices, intention, focus, repetition, emotion, and belief. So today we're going to start with chapter 9, which is going to talk about rule number 1, mindfulness, the vital role of awareness. This rule is very important. Being mindful will have an immediate and positive effect on how well you do at wiring your brain in the right way. As we are using it here, mindfulness is the process of being consciously aware of your own mental environment and activity in a purposeful way at all times, and emphasizes the all times idea, because that is really, sometimes we are very aware, but then we go through our day and we forget about it. So being aware at all times is really crucial and not that easy. It is your self-directed awareness of your own mind and what you're doing with it. Mindfulness in these pages is paying attention to paying attention. It follows a form of active thinking called metacognition, which in the brain is a function of the prefrontal cortex and helps you regulate and manage your own thoughts. Can you imagine like managing your own thoughts? For me, in the beginning, that was like a foreign idea. How am I going to manage my own thoughts? But stay with Shad Helmstetter. He really does a great job explaining it. It has to do with thinking about consciously what you're thinking about. The way I did it in the beginning was just to put my alarm every hour, and I would just stop for a second. And then I would say, okay, what am I thinking about? What is going on in my head right now? And so that's how I became more and more aware of what my thoughts were. It is mindfulness that first tunes us into taking charge of the programming of the brain. When you'd like your brain to do something special for you, the more attention you give to what your mind is doing, the better you'll be able to direct your brain to help you accomplish it. Perhaps the far opposite of mindfulness is being absent-minded, as though your mind is absent, such as when you walk into a room and then can't remember why, or you find yourself standing in front of the open refrigerator and have no idea what you were going to get from it. We often say in situations like this that our mind was elsewhere, and that would be true. With mindfulness, your mind is right here and on high awareness. Being highly aware creates an electrochemical state in the brain that alerts it to and keeps it mindful of your objective. This self-aware mindfulness sets up the working environment your brain needs for it to follow your directions without the usual background noise and static that occurs in your brain when it receives no specific direction from your conscious mind. A randomly rambling mind is not a self-directed mind. As we'll see later, while it may be the choice you make each day that determines the road you will wish to follow, it is first your mindfulness that heightens your brain's sensitivity to seeking that path. When you're practicing mindfulness, you're saying to your brain, this is important to me. This is something I want you to be aware of and work on it with me. Or I'm about to set a goal and I want you to help me reach it. It is the broader sense of being mindful. You're increasing your general awareness of the natural programming process of your brain. That's what it is all about, because your brain is programming your outcome all day long. 24/7, 365 days a year. It is just doing that. So now it is key to learn how to do it in the way that you want it to do it, so that you have the outcome that you want. You become more aware minute by minute throughout each day that you and your brain have a partnership. You tell it what to do, and with repeated direction, your brain begins to wire in it. When you regularly practice becoming consciously aware, several things will happen. When you're mindful, you are aware of every message you give your brain, and it is being recorded. This one step of mindfulness alone can change how you think and what you say when you talk to yourself. By focusing on your own awareness, you begin to change the underlying programs that direct your thoughts and words because you're aware of them at all times. Awareness is it's so key. Awareness is the first step. If you're not aware that you are doing this, that your mind is really programming you, that's where the outcome is coming from, then you will be more aware. When you think a thought, its direction will be either negative, neutral, or positive. As we discovered when we were coloring the brain, the thought could be described as a thought that works against you or your well-being in some way, B, a neutral thought that has no positive or negative value ascribed to it, or C, a thought that works for you in a healthy, productive way. If you really should be exercising, as an example, the simple thought, I should exercise today, but I'll put it off until tomorrow, would be identified as a negative thought because it works against your well-being by stopping you from following the healthy exercise schedule you set for yourself. The thought, I'll choose to exercise today, would be a positive thought because it helps you stay with your exercise plan and take the action that is healthiest for you. In the past, unless you've already been practicing mindfulness, this process has, for the most part, been unconscious. That means your thoughts and your self-talk have been created by old programs, good or bad, that were already in place. When you practice mindfulness, you begin to create new thought-directing programs which override previous programs that may have allowed you unconsciously to move towards the negative instead of the positive. And with mindfulness, your brain will actually begin to prune out the old negative neural circuits that are no longer being used, and you get rid of them. Just like the gardener who prune out the old branches on a rose bush, so the new roses will have more room to grow. Yeah, if you take out all the garbage, then there is like a space, and in that space, you can put good stuff. When this happens, as you're continuing to practice your new awareness and are more conscious of your thoughts more of the time, even your unconscious thoughts will automatically begin to move towards the positive. The second thing that's going to happen when you're mindful, you are aware that your choices change your programs. And you're going to see that outcome and you're going to see those results. And it's really amazing. And it goes fast. If you're really aware and you change your thoughts, things are going to move. The more you're aware of your choices themselves, the more that you're aware that your choices themselves play a role in wiring your brain and creating your programs, the more important each of your choices becomes. Mindfulness helps you keep your choices in front of you. It gets you to ask the question, is this a good choice, a neutral choice, or a bad choice? What you do next as a result of that choice will be recorded by your brain. And when that same choice is repeated, your brain will start to wire it in. The beginning of a new program, of a new habit. The third thing that happens when you're mindful is by being more aware of your programming, you create stronger programs. Being mindful of your programming not only allows you to control the input, the mere addition of your awareness itself adds chemical strength to the neural pathways your brain is forming. Being aware of your programs makes them stronger. And because you're aware of the programs that are being formed, you're able to direct the process, making sure that you're sending the most positive, most healthy, most productive messages to your brain instead of something less. And it's also the same principle. Whatever you give energy grows. If you're going to put the emphasis, or you're really going to pay attention to all the good stuff that you want, the good thoughts, the The good programs, then because you give them energy, they are going to grow. And it's the same thing, like you're going to create that space again. The bad stuff is not going to get energy, and the good stuff is going to take that place. A fourth thing that happens when you're mindful is you're aware that the objective you're working on at this moment is something that is important to you, and you want your brain to pay close attention. It is mindfulness that sounds the wake-up call to your brain. When you practice mindfulness long enough for it to become a habit, you'll find that even when you're in situations when you're relaxed or not trying to focus intently on the moment, you'll suddenly hear yourself tell your brain, this is important, or here's how I choose to think about it. That will happen when something comes up that really matters to you. And it will happen because you have created mindfulness programs that keep your awareness closer to the surface. When you're mindful, that's number 5, you improve your memory. When you hold your attention on one thought for even 10 or 15 seconds or more, in a state of focused mindfulness, you upgrade that thought from short-term memory storage into long-term memory storage. When you're playing catch with a baseball, it isn't enough to let the ball hit the glove. You have to catch it and hold it. Putting a thought into long-term memory is like that. You have to catch the thought and hold onto it long enough for it to really stay in the brain. So what happens when you're not being mindful? When you're not practicing mindfulness, you're saying to your brain, I really don't care what program pathways you set up for me today. I'm too busy to notice, and I'm too busy to be mindful. Not such a good idea. I hope you lead me in the right direction, but I'm going to leave it up to you. Never leave it up to the brain, because the brain is going to choose the least resistance, and it's going to go back to whatever it was used to. It's never going to change if you don't do it consciously. I'm going to leave my unconscious choices for today up to the old programs you have recorded, even the negative ones. Not good. I have decided to rely on luck to get me through. Don't do that. Luck really doesn't get you anywhere in a way. None of that sounds either intelligent or safe. Remember, you're in charge, not your brain. It's your job to be mindful, make the choices, set the course out you want your brain to follow, and stay mindful through the day, every day. That can sound like a tall task, but it is one that's never ending. But keep in mind that mindfulness itself is also a habit that becomes programmed. The more you practice doing it, the more natural and automatic it will become. And in a short time, being mindful can become as natural as listening to someone when they're talking to you. It becomes a natural part of your life every day. And it creates an awareness and a sense of being in control that almost nothing else can match. Habits of distraction are the opposite of mindfulness. That's how the chapter is ending. Habits of distraction are the opposite of mindfulness. Look out for things that seem to be harmless. Everyday distractions or habits can go unnoticed. They're part of our lives and seem normal, but are the opposite of mindfulness. In most homes, the number one habit of distraction is television. As I've said, watching television is designed by its producer to be a habit, and most television viewing, as far as your brain is concerned, is mindless, not mindful. In some homes, the television is the first thing awake in the morning and the last thing to shut down at night. Many people pay attention to it or watch it, but it's still on in the background, and in your minds, it's drowning out any chance of mindfulness or any kind of awareness at all. Like, just remember, even if it's just in the background and you're not even looking at it, it is programming. Your brain picks it up, and it is programming your subconscious mind. And in the time that we live in today, social media is also one of those things. You're scrolling, you think, oh, I'll only pay attention to the things that I want to see. No, 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 no. Your eyes pick it up and it goes to your brain and it is firing in. So be a little bit careful with all those things. And, you know, it is important to understand how your subconscious mind gets programmed, even if you don't want it. It just goes in. When you're not paying attention, that's when you're susceptible for all those things. A second thing, another habit of distraction that hinders mindfulness is idle conversation filled with gossip. I know we're all social creatures and we need social interaction. But if you analyze the last 10 phone calls that included gossip, would they be mindful, positive experiences? The problem with idle conversation is that it is so much a habit practiced over years that it pretends to be an essential part of life. Thoughtless conversation isn't really essential at all. In fact, it can be a negative habit instead of a positive one. What can a habit like that do to your brain? The programming that you can get from the one habit that's from idle conversation mixed with gossip is frightening. Fortunately, it's a habit and you can choose to eliminate it from your life. A third habit I'll mention that can take the place of mindfulness is the internet. I just spoke about it a little bit. The number of hours a week people spend on social networks alone is astonishing. I would only recommend that if you want to be mindful, you will have to be aware that what you're doing with your mind now, and then decide if that's what you really want to be doing. There's no positive programming angle hovering over us to keep us from filling our brains with all the wrong stuff and spending our time instead of being mindful and aware. You'll have to do this for yourself, but you can do it. Being mindful is fun, and making it a positive habit is an important part of taking control of your life. When you pay attention to your mind really like the person you're getting to know. So next video, we're going into chapter 10, talking about choices. So I hope you enjoy this. And as always, I would recommend read the book, The Power of Neuroplasticity, and you will understand how important it is to wire your brain into positive habits, and it will make all the difference in the world. Have a wonderful day, you guys.